Go.
Good evening, comadres. My name is Eileen Schlepp, and with Maria Ferrer, we're both coordinators of the Las Comadres Speaker Series. This year, we're gathering Latinas who are breaking the mold in every arena, and it's a treasure chest of incredible wealth. The interviews will be recorded and added to the Las Comadres YouTube channel so that you can continue to enjoy these incredibly historic interviews. Tonight, we're talking about faith, passion, and resilience with Diana Bejarano Figueroa, the Latina Still Standing. Diana is a Latino social media influencer who has overcome tremendous obstacles in her life. She dropped out of high school at age 14, but went back and got her GED at 16 on her 16th birthday. She went straight to college, graduating summa cum laude from a community college and then transferred to Arizona State University. There, she earned her bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from the prestigious Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. That's an incredible school. Diana serves as Senior Vice President for Education Nonprofits, helping students attain their degree and using her voice to change the narrative about education attainment. In her spare time, she serves on boards, participates in a leadership program, and maintains Latina Still Standing social media pages and blog. Interviewing Diana will be Maria Ferrer, my co-coordinator, who is a comadre for over 15 years, and she is the director of Las Comadres para las Americas. Comadre Maria, take it away.
Welcome, welcome. Diana, welcome. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
We know that it's the name of your personal blog. You have over 20,000 followers, but Latina Still Standing has become a movement. I've been following you for 2 years and it's a movement.
Thank you.
So we want to know how you define the woman, the Latina Still Standing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with Las Comadres and to be a comadre with you all. I started Latina Still Standing. It came out of the fact that I had to endure a lot of different things growing up and being a Latina, being a woman through dealing with relationships that were not the best, to childhood traumas, to other adversities. And I realized, you know what, I'm still standing. And so are so many other people who are going through things. And I thought, you know what, that is something to be proud of and to be resilient and to still be standing. And for me, I think the main reason that I, am sane and have achieved any success at all is because of my faith. That has really grounded me, the spiritual relationship that I have. And so I created Latina Still Standing for Latinas to know and to hear other Latina stories. I used to write a blog. I need to get back into it. I got really busy with a new job, but I want to tell stories about Latinas who have overcome adversity, who are still standing and how they did it and share that with others. So to me, a Latina Still Standing is someone who may have been knocked down in life. We all go through different trials and tribulations, but she chose to get back up. And not only did she choose to get back up, but she chooses to help other Latinas and to share her story of resiliency or whatever her story is, whether it's faith or overcoming adversities through education or other things. And it's something that you can't just define in a small amount of words. I think that Latinas are so amazing, and I might be a little biased, but I think we are just so amazing and we're resilient and we do so much for other people. And so we're very giving. And I think a Latina Still Standing is many things, but one is a resilient Latina who has overcome adversities and is still standing.
Yes, because I know, following your blog and everything, the words resilience and respect always come up again and again with you. And I think those are two virtues that you stress a lot. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think I stress so many different things, but when it comes to respect and resilience, I think with respect, I've learned, throughout my life, as we get older, we get wiser, right? And without respect for ourselves, especially, and at first, first we should respect ourselves, because then it teaches others that they have to respect us as well. And sometimes as women, we have dealt with many things in life, including, biases and discrimination and disrespect in relationships and otherwise. And so when you have respect for yourself and who you are and where you came from and what you are about, then you can really achieve a lot more in life, because you have to have that self-worth and that self-respect. And then resilience, I think, some people say, well, we shouldn't talk about like how strong we are because of what we had to go through, because it's so awful, what we had to go through. But I think it should be celebrated that we are still standing. And I really do think that resiliency is a trait not everybody has. I think when you look it up in the dictionary, it talks about the ability to bounce back. And, some of the things I've been through, the fact that I'm still standing and I was able to bounce back from, deaths and divorces and, all kinds of tragedies and things in life, and poverty, and dropping out of high school when I was young, and coming back and getting my GED on my 16th birthday and going straight to college. Those are things that I think should be celebrated, not just for myself, but for other Latinas to be proud of who they are and the things that they have bounced back from. And it doesn't mean we're completely healed. We're all in the process of, healing and overcoming, some childhood traumas perhaps, or some other things that we've dealt with. But I do think that being resilient is something to be proud of.
Yes, we're very proud. Let's talk about the family unit. You talk about generations of strength and courage. So are you talking about just like your immediate family, or are you talking about, your tias, your comadres, your friends, what are the generations of strength and courage?
I don't know a lot about, genomics and genes and DNA, but I know enough that our ancestors, they survived, and they survived under some horrific and terrible different circumstances. And the fact that we are here today is a miracle. Considering some of the things that our ancestors had to go through, and our comadres and our grandmothers, our abuelas, our tias, they were so strong, and we carry their sangre inside of us, and that is in our DNA. Genomics experts can explain it better, but I'm telling you, I think that our resiliency comes because we've had to overcome so many things and endure so many things generationally, right? So our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, and our great-great-grandmothers, we think we've gone through some tough times. Can you imagine some of the things that our grandmothers and our tias had to go through? I had an abuela, Nana Lara was her name. She worked 30 years at a newspaper, a prominent newspaper here in Arizona. I can't even imagine working as a Latina in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, what kinds of things she had to endure. She shared a little bit with me about gender biases and racism and other things. And, she was beautiful. She held her head high. She was smart beyond what she was able to accomplish because she had children and it was back in those days. But let me tell you, our ancestors, they are so strong. And that is why we are strong. I'm sure some of you have been told, you remind me of your nana, you remind me of your abuela, you remind me of your tia, so-and-so. My mom tells me all the time that I'm strong, just like one of my great grandmothers who was very, very strong. So I do think it's in our genes, and it's in our blood, it's in our sangre.
Yeah, it's women. Women have all this power and this strength. You just have to, channel it, focus on it, respect it.
Find it.
And find it.
Sometimes we lose it and we got to find it again.
We do. So now that we talked about the strength of women and everything, what about the role? What's the men's role, to a Latina still standing?
I am not one to bash men. I will tell you, I think men are wonderful. And I think that, there's good and bad in every, gender and walk of life. I do think that a lot of Latinos, when I first started Latina Still Standing, they're like, what about us? What about Latinos? Where's the Latinos Still Standing? And, I'm like, hey, you guys can start whatever you want to start. This is something that's near and dear to my heart for women. But, I happen to have a really good husband and he's Latino. I actually, it's funny because I was married previously. And then when I got divorced, I put a list together of what I wanted. And I had all these characteristics of what I wanted. I wanted him to have faith. I wanted him to be funny. And I wanted him to be, a good person and have integrity. But I also had the word tall. I think it was like at the top of my list. And so I actually attracted and married a 6'8" Latino man. And
my
he is like
God.
the most wonderful, gentle giant ever. And he supports everything I do. And so I'm very grateful that after years and years of kissing frogs, I found a prince that is so awesome. And he's handsome and tall, just like I asked for on my list. So I think men play a big role in our lives. And I think that as women, we have like a camaraderie and we get together and we have the comadres and we have that sort of loving social circle. And I would really hope that men could find their space and their place to have similar interactions with other men the way we do it so well with other women.
Yes, yes, we hope they could. So the biggest question I'm sure that everybody wants to ask, does your husband have an older brother, an uncle, a single?
He does have a single old uncle, but I don't know if anybody wants
We'll have
him,
to
but
talk
he's a
later.
really nice guy. Yeah, people ask me all the time, does he have a brother? And I'm like, no, he doesn't. He has 2 sisters. And one of them is 6 foot tall as well.
Wow,
And
that's a tall
beautiful. So,
family.
yeah.
You've mentioned several times faith, and you credit faith as the key ingredient in your life. Why is faith so important and how does it really make a difference?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I was raised a Catholic and my parents always modeled to me that God was real and I saw them pray. They taught me how to pray, but I didn't really have like a personal relationship with God. I prayed here and there, but it wasn't like anything that I would call like super like spiritual or personal. But when I was 16, I had sort of like this supernatural experience and an epiphany, and I completely did a 360, like from one day to the next. I mean, one day I was on the wrong path, going down the wrong path, hanging around with the wrong people. And I was a dropout and I was not in the right frame of mind, in the right space. I was growing up in deep poverty, living in housing projects, and around a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, and a lot of murders and suicides. And it wasn't a good and happy, fun experience or place. And I was trying to survive. And somehow I really believe that the prayers from my nana, my abuelas, my dad, my mom, they made a huge difference. And I had this epiphany and I completely did a 360. And I started going to church. I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I started having a personal relationship with him. And I went and got my GED on my 16th birthday because I had dropped out of school because I was rebellious. I was a really rebellious teenager. And I started going to college and they took me under their wings and I applied for scholarships and I got the Pell Grant and I didn't have to pay any money out of pocket. I did work study. And from 16 years old, I ended up going to South Mountain Community College here in Arizona, graduated summa cum laude, and then transferred to Arizona State University, where I got a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism. And I tell you, if you knew that traviesa that I was growing up, you wouldn't believe that I was able to do that. And I really don't take credit for that. I didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm going to be a good kid now. No, it was like a supernatural experience. It was like God, like he took me and he just like spun me around and I started going the other way. And so I'm so grateful to that experience that, it's kind of a long story, but if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be, because many of the people that I grew up with, unfortunately, they're either dead in prison, addicted to drugs, or living in poverty. And it's very, very sad. And so I am still standing by the grace of God and my mother's prayers, my father's prayers, my grandparents' prayers. And I really believe that.
Yes, prayer is very powerful at all times. You have a lot of great posts. She posts daily. And one of the posts that really struck me as memorable is the one that you had one early this September, and it says, some days she is a warrior. Some days she's a broken mess. Most days she's a bit of both. But every day she's there, standing, fighting, trying. That is so inspirational. You know, how do you decide what you're going to post? What inspires you that you then inspire us?
I think every person that I see and that I meet and that I follow on social media, they all, give me inspiration. And so some days I write personal posts, other days I write about things that I've read and seen. And I just feel like as women and as Latinas, we all have those moments where we don't feel worthy, or we don't feel good, or we feel like we're having imposter syndrome, or we don't know, who we are. And I think that we have to realize that it's a cycle of life, and that, we're not always going to feel like way up here, on top of the world all the time, but to remember that you will, and you are amazing, and you will come back from whatever it is you're dealing with at any given time, and to never give up, to never lose faith, to never doubt that you're precious, and that there is a bigger power that can help you and guide you. And, sometimes we feel messy, and sometimes we are because we're human, right? And it's okay. Like, you have to learn how to love yourself through it, through whatever you're going through. And so when I'm posting, I think about who's on the other end. Is it a woman going through divorce who just messaged me, told me that, this happened or that happened? Is it a mother who just lost her son to opioid addiction? Is it somebody who just lost their job? Is it someone who doesn't know what to do because they can't find love or a career or whatever it is? And so I'm always trying to, uplift people and encourage people. I've had people message me who are dealing with cancer. I've had people message me about all types of things. And, this Hispanic Heritage Month, I have made a promise to myself that I'm going to write stories about different Latinas so that I can uplift them through this Hispanic Heritage Month. Regular people, just regular Latinas who I think are amazing. And so if anyone wants me to write their story, they can message me at Latina Still Standing on Facebook or Instagram, and or to the email, the Latina Still Standing info at thelatinastillstanding.com.
I'm writing that down. Facebook and Instagram.
And I can also text it to you.
Yes. So we've heard a lot about the personal you, the Latina Still Standing. What about the professional you? What do you do for a living? What do you enjoy?
So I am a senior vice president of marketing and communications at an educational nonprofit in Arizona. It's called Education Forward Arizona. We advocate for students, and we have scholarship programs, we have mentoring programs, advising programs. We have policy and advocacy. We advocate for, laws that will help students, and we oppose things that don't help students that come through the legislature. We use our voice in communications to try to change the narrative in our state, because sometimes it's not friendly to public education or to other things that we care about. Like, I believe that Latinos and all children, including African-American, Indigenous, Native American children, and any other children, that they should all have the opportunity to go to college, and regardless of their zip code. And I believe that talent and brilliance is everywhere, regardless of zip code. It's just that the opportunity sometimes isn't there for them. And I love that I have been using my marketing and communication skills for the past 16 years in the education sector. I've also worked in other industries and sectors like high tech and healthcare and retail, and also in media when I worked at the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com and other media outlets. But education is something that I really believe in. I think it's a game changer. I think it can change the trajectory of someone's life and break the cycle of poverty. And I know this firsthand because it did it to me. I have changed that. I was the first in my immediate family to graduate from college. So I'm a first generation college student. And I'm very grateful that I am able to make a good living and to live out my dreams and to still have my passion with Latina Still Standing. And I want to do more with that, with the website. I'm going to be building in products that I sell because I have shirts with my logo and also retreats. But I also have a day job where I am advocating for education in Arizona.
No, that's very good. Comadre Tanya, I don't know if you were with us on Monday. Monday was our book club teleconference. And one of the authors that we interviewed was Tanya de Regil. And Tanya Soleil, who was her interviewer, she puts down here that that you should connect with Tanya de Regil, because maybe your profiles of the Latinas, that could be a book and Tanya can illustrate.
Oh my God, I
One
would
of her
so
passions
love
is
that.
to illustrate. And, I've seen it, we've seen it in other places where there's it's like a book of profiles, but you do it for adults, and then you do the same profiles, but you do them for children.
Oh, I love that.
So
idea.
there's an idea for you. You can run with it.
Yeah, I also want to tell each story and add them into a book, almost like Chicken Soup for the Soul. But Latina stories about resiliency, and so that other people can see the recipe of what that other Latina did to, succeed or overcome. And so I'm hoping to publish that hopefully next year.
Yeah. Well, instead of, what is it? Chicken soup, it could be like Latino asopao.
Oh yeah, I won't call it chicken soup, but it's like that sort of like genre,
Yes,
right, of
yes.
books.
Eileen wants to know, what are your professional and personal goals?
Oh my goodness. I want to expand Latina Still Standing. That's sort of a professional and personal goal. I want to do retreats all over the place in beautiful places and have writers' workshops and different, yoga and hiking and other things that Latinas love to do from all over the world to come maybe to beautiful Sedona or somewhere like at the beach in California, because I live near there. I don't want to go anywhere east where the hurricanes are happening, but I am praying for them though. And I want to do a lot more with it. I want to publish a book and maybe start a podcast. I just have been so busy with my family life and my professional day job that I keep putting it on hold. But if I'm going to tell other people to live their dreams, I need to start living mine as well. So
yes, living them fully. So this month, of course, is Hispanic Heritage Month. How are you celebrating?
Well, as mentioned earlier, I want to write about Latinas this month. So I'm asking anyone who wants to share their story with me. I'm going to pick different ones. And there's people that I know that I want to highlight as well, not just in Arizona, but even out of state, nationally and perhaps internationally. And I want to just talk about how amazing they are and how resilient they are and tell each one's unique story, just to highlight them during Hispanic Heritage Month. I used to do this throughout the whole year with blogs, and I haven't had the time lately, but I said I was going to make the time. So if you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and me potentially share your story, you can message me at Latina Still Standing on Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. Laura is with us. Laura, do you want to ask your question or should I?
I don't mind asking it. I was trying to unmute. So I just want to know the best way that we can support you.
Oh my goodness. I love your name, Stress Commando. So you might be able to support me there because stress is something that's real for all of us, right? Especially if you have, a family that you have to deal with. My mom just moved in with us this summer. I'm sure there's lots of Latinas and Latinos who have their parents that they're living with. I have a stepson and a stepdaughter, and I have a husband, and I have a puppy, and I have a day job, and I have this side passion project, and I'm in a leadership program that I just got picked for, and then I'm on several boards. So I think I'll follow up with you on what you do for stress, because I love your name, Stress Commando. I do think that, following the pages and sharing them with women who you think might benefit and even sharing with me stories that you think I should elevate and write about and amplify. I'm going to be doing more of that. And I really want people to open up and share their stories and celebrate who they are, not just during Hispanic Heritage Month, but all the time, because I think Latinas are amazing. I know I'm biased, but I know all women are amazing, but I just love Latinas, and I love resiliency, and I love the fact that God chose me to be a person who can communicate and share and uplift and encourage. That's the skill set and the gift he gave me. And I want to make sure to use my gifts for the world and to do anything good that I can. There's almost nothing I haven't been through, unfortunately. So I'm here to help, and to, when I can help someone who's been through trauma, from either a divorce or a childhood trauma, or somebody who's been through poverty, or somebody who's trying to obtain an education, or somebody who is just struggling with something. I'm not a counselor and I'm not a psychologist, but I've done a lot of work to get to the place of healing, and I'm continually growing and healing. And, I've always looked up to people like Oprah Winfrey, who has overcome so much and survived so much, and is still standing and still doing good and putting good out through her communication skills into the world. And I don't know that I'll ever reach her stature. And that's really not the goal, but the goal is to make an impact on this earth while I'm still here. Because if we learned anything through COVID, that life is definitely fragile, and we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our health. And I'm still learning that part of it. And I think through, learning about meditation, I haven't, I've done yoga once. I need to get into that a little more. I need to eat a little bit better and put down those tortillas and the tacos and the beans and all that other good stuff that I was raised on, which, by the way, I love menudo. That's like a big thing I eat, and I'm sure it's not that healthy. But if we can take care of ourselves, then we can live out the dreams that we have, and we can make a difference in this world. But if we don't have our health, and my Nana told me this while she was on her deathbed, she said, if you don't have your health, mija, you have nothing. And so I'm not a health expert by any means, but I do think that it's important that Latinas not just give and take care of everyone else, but that they take care of themselves as well. I had a friend pass away a couple of years ago, and I mean, she gave to her kids, and she gave to her mother-in-law and her mother and her husband, everybody, but she never really took time for herself, and she worked a lot, and now she's not here anymore. And so I believe that we are supposed to take care of ourselves first and put the oxygen mask on first, and then everybody else. And so that's something I'm still learning, but I think everybody needs to do the same thing, to preserve themselves so they can make a difference.
Yes. Self-care is very important. Mental health is very important. Yes. Eileen has a question. Eileen? She's trying to unmute herself. There she is.
I was wondering where you got the ganas to go back and get your GED. And also, how does that experience inform your work today with the young people you work with in your nonprofit?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't recommend them dropping out and then having to go get their GED so they can stay in school. But if you did drop out and you want to go back, you can. And I've done it, other people have done it, and you can become very successful. I think education opens the doors to opportunity. And, sometimes when you think, oh, I can't do that, or what if I don't know how to do that, or what if this, or what if that, we can all learn. Like, there's nothing that we really can't learn, right? The world is full of, information now that you can access. And I think that education is a game changer, and it doesn't matter what age you are, and it doesn't matter, where you come from. There's funding in different states. I know Arizona has an Arizona Promise program, and that if you make under, like, I don't know, $65,000, $70,000, you can go to school for free. There's Pell Grants. We tout the FAFSA which is the federal application for federal monies to go to school. I mean, I was poor and I went to school and I don't have any loan debt at all. And I applied for every scholarship I could. And I applied for every grant that I could. And I did work study. My last semester in college, I had 3 jobs. I worked on the assignment desk at Channel 3 as an intern because my major was broadcast journalism. I worked for Housing and Urban Development, Office of Indian Programs as a clerk. And I worked on campus in the media and computer lab is what it was called. We had like these old computers, which like so long ago, I'm dating myself. But you know what? And I did it and I had a full credit course. And so when people are like, they don't have money or like they can't go to school, I'm like, what? Like I did it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And, you know, I'm not a genius. I grew up in a lot of poverty, but one thing my parents did do when I was very young is they taught me how to read. And if a child can't read by 3rd grade, they have a higher chance of ending up in prison because they cannot do the work in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and they drop out and they get into trouble. So if there's something I'd like to share with Latina mothers is, man, teach your kids how to read and teach them young and teach them well. Because if my dad and my Theo, who was in school at the time, had not taught me how to read, I do not think I would be here where I am today. That made such a difference. And I know it sounds simple, but it is so important. It'll change the trajectory of your kid's life if they cannot read by a certain grade level. And so I get on my family members all the time, my nieces, my nephews, and they're on Facebook and they're doing all this. And I'm like, have you read to him? Like, does he have any books? Do you need any books? Do you want to read to him? Like, don't just throw them with the phone because it's so important. So I think that my faith that God helped me turn my life around to get my GED and go back to college, and the fact that my parents taught me how to read at a very young age, those 2 things really helped me to be able to go and to persevere and to study and to finish and to graduate. And so when someone graduates college, they can make a lot more money over their lifetime. I'm not saying everyone has to go to college, but everyone should have the opportunity to go.
No, education is very important. It's true. And when you're the first one in your family who goes off to college or away, to a bigger, better school, it changes you and it also changes your family. Sometimes there might be some jealousy, but, most of the time, they're so proud of you that they then want, your brothers and sisters to do it, your cousins to do it. They want everyone to do it, which is good. You lead by example.
I hope they do. I hope they do it.
Yes. What do you think about bilingual education?
Wow, I haven't heard about that in years.
Yeah, because, that argument is always somewhere, everybody's, do you just teach them English? Do you just teach them, Spanish, both?
The one thing I would say about that, and I'm not an expert in that area, although I've worked at a school district and I worked at Arizona State University for 12 years, but always in marketing and communications. But the one thing I'll say is that these other countries, they teach multiple languages to their kids. Why should we only know English? You know what I mean? I think English is a great language and we all should know it. But man, I wish that I would have had a dual language taught to me from a young age. I did minor in Spanish and I was able to, get straight A's because I'm a 3rd generation Hispanic American, but my nana and my abuelo still spoke Spanish when I was little. So I heard it, but nobody made me do it. And man, if I could learn another language, oh my God, that would just be even better, right? Because you make yourself more marketable when you know multiple languages. And so when I was applying for jobs, even out of college, I always put bilingual, major in journalism, minor in Spanish. And I'm not even that fluent, but I have a minor in it. So I capitalize on that because I think people should know more than one language. And if kids can learn anything when they're young, so I would welcome, at least dual languages being taught in school.
Yes, I would too. Yeah. But it's true. This is a global world. This is a global time. Something that's happening in Korea, you find it on your phone. So we need to keep up with the times and we need to be educated and our kids need to know all this.
I see a question
Um,
in the chat from Teresa,
Yes.
and I think it's my friend from Los Angeles. Hi, Teresa. I didn't know you were going to be
Yes.
on. I haven't seen you in
Teresa,
forever.
say hi.
Hi, everyone.
I love
Jackie,
you. I'm so glad to
love
see
you
you.
too.
Ask your question. What's your question, Teresa?
What would you say to the 5 years ago you,
Ooh, 5 years
where
ago.
you stand now?
I would say, girl, don't worry. It's going to be okay. You're going to find a wonderful man. You're going to get married,
A tall one.
and God is with you, and all you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, because you worry so much and then everything works out, and for me, I have faith. And so I just believe that, I would tell the 5 years ago Diana, and the 10-year ago Diana, and the little kid Diana, like, keep God first, girl. Put him first, and he will help you navigate through this life. He will be there for you when no one else is there for you. He will be there when you get knocked down. He will be there to pick you up. And if you put him first and you live through his principles and through his way, everything will work out in your favor. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, keep those questions coming, please. Keep those questions coming. So talking about going back to reading, what are you reading? What's on your nightstand? And what have you read that you recommend?
I have a stack, and I'm so bad. I start books and then I start another book, and then before I finish the last book, and then I have them on my phone. So then I'm just constantly trying to listen to different ones. I know one of them that I haven't finished yet, but I did start, is What Happened to You? It's from Oprah Winfrey and a psychologist. Instead of saying what's wrong with you to kids, they say you should say what happened to you. And then it talks about how adverse childhood experiences affect people who are adults and students in school. So there's that one. I also read one a while ago called You're a Badass. And I think Jen Sincero wrote that book. And she has other ones like You're a Badass at Making Money, and You're a Badass at Something Else and Something Else. But they're really easy, quick reads. And then I'm reading one right now. It's from a Latino, and I can't remember his name, but it's something about, the title has the word struggle, and it's a leadership book, and it has the title Struggle. I'll have to find it. And they're all in English because I can read Spanish, but I read them in English. And I saw a question in the chat pop in. It says, do I do speaking engagements and presentations in Espanol? I can do them in LA if I'm invited, Susana Santana, but I do them in English. Porque mi español no es perfecto, pero puedo hablar un poquito.
Very nice, very nice. Yes, she is available for presentations if you invite her. What is your mantra in life? Or did we cover that already?
We sort of touched on it. I do think that we can do all things with God on our side. I do believe that. I think that he does help me. That's my personal thing. And I know you also had asked, earlier, and you're probably going to ask it again, but you had asked me what my superpower was. And I was trying to think, what is that? But I really do think it's the communication, because that's how I make a living, right? I talk and I speak and I write. And as a kid, my mom would say, oh, here comes Channel 3. And I was always like this little reporter. And I'm really grateful that God has gifted each one of us with different skills. And it's up to us to like lean in to those skills and those superpowers, and to really learn how to use them to make this world a better place. I mean, we all see the news. We all see what's going on. And the older I get, the more I learn about how I'm in this leadership program right now called Catalyze. And if you live in this zip code, your life expectancy is lower than if you live in this richer zip code, right? The livability index. And if you live here and the ozone and the air quality is down here, and if you live over here, it's better. And so like, it's almost like we're set up like in a way to not be able to succeed. And that's why I think we're so amazing, because despite systemic racism, despite all the laws and all the things that are against not only us, but our ancestors, we're still here and we're still standing. And guess what? We are still luchando, we're still fighting, and we are still going to be successful and are successful. And so I applaud everyone who's had to endure and overcome so many different things in this country and in every country. But here, you know, being a Latina, being African American, or any minority, everything has been set up against us. And I didn't even know it all growing up. And I think that was good that I didn't know it like I'm learning it now, because I never want to be the victim, right? I always want to be the victor. And so I say all that to say that I think that we're pretty amazing. The fact that we're still here and we have achieved any success at all, considering all the odds that have been against us and against our ancestors from day one.
Yes, yes. No, you make an excellent point. We are still standing. Latina is still standing, all of us together in our own
Yes.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, and as long as I have breath and life, I'm going to always try to encourage other people. One thing that is in a wise book called the Bible that I always read was that the power of life and death is in the tongue. So whatever you speak, you're either speaking life or you're either speaking death. And I've also learned, and still learning, that our words are so powerful. So whatever we say and whatever we put out and whatever we write, we are going to get that. That's why there's another saying in there that says you eat the fruit of your own words. So we have to be careful what we're saying, how we're saying it, who we're saying it, when we're saying it, like all of it. We have to. And I tell you, I want to continue to attract good energy, right? And I want to continue to reap what I sow, and I want to sow good seed. And so I want to make sure that I'm an encourager, because I think there's a quote that says there's already enough critics. Why don't you be an encourager?
It's true. We all need to be encouragers.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
And what you guys are doing is amazing. I didn't know about Las Comadres para las Americas, and I do now. And I applaud you all. And I'm really grateful and thankful that you guys invited me to come and speak and share. And I hope we get to do more together.
Yes, absolutely. We want to do more together. Are there any more questions?
I see a comment though. It says, if AOC can do it, you can too. What is your focus on your work? What can we expect? How can we be involved? Wow, that's a good question. There's so many things. I think stay tuned, follow the pages, Latina Still Standing, and I'm going to be doing some retreats in the future for Latinas, probably some in Sedona, some in the West Coast, in the beach area. I did go to Malibu a couple years ago, and Teresa Lara did join me there, and it was a nice time. So I love to see my friends all over the country. I do want to also write a book. I want to include different Latina stories. You can get in touch with me. I'm looking at the chat. It says, what's the best way? You can either email info@theLatinaStillStanding.com, or just follow me and message me and DM me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm there every day. Every single day I'm there. So that's where you can find me at Latina Still Standing.
Yep, we put it on the chat. Malibu is epic, says Teresa.
Yeah, I rented a beach house and I invited some Latina friends in LA, and we just had a good time talking and hanging out at the beach, and it was great.
That could have been a retreat.
I
See,
know,
you're
it
already
really
taking a
was.
retreat.
It was like a mini retreat.
There you go. You already started.
I talked to a Latina today who's a journalist as well, and we were talking about doing a Latinas writers workshop. And we could all write, and then people could submit stories about like overcoming and resiliency that can be included in the book once it's published. So if you know any publishers, message me so that I can get in contact with them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I might even start a podcast. So I listened to a few different ones, and they're pretty good. There's some good ones out there already. So we'll see. Porque me gusta hablar mucho.
That's good. That's your superpower, right? Communication.
That's right.
That's your superpower.
Not chismear, but communicar.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you very much for being here with us. And thank you everyone for joining us. Eileen? Wait, Eileen?
She's on mute. She's going to unmute.
I'm
There you
muted.
go.
We all want to tell you we thank you and we appreciate you, Latina Still Standing, Diana Figueroa, for joining us tonight, and to Comadre Maria Ferrer for a great interview. Thank you all for being with us. We are building a cadre of incredible interviews. We will be letting you know what our next speaker will be in detail. Good night, and we thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
And continue to be active members of Las Comadres para las Americas, please.
Yes. And everyone
Thank
be a
you.
Latina Still Standing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Diana.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
all.
Maria.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Have a
bye.
great night.